You know, there's this one universal idea that connects pretty much all of us, no matter where we're from or what we believe. It's the idea of a countdown. But we're not talking about New Year's Eve or a rocket launch here. This is about a countdown for hope, and we're going to look at it through three completely different worlds.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. It all boils down to this one single word. And when you really stop to think about it, this word is packed with so much meaning. It's about anticipation, right? Expectation. It's that powerful promise that something is about to change.
So, where do we even begin? Well, let's start with the most primal countdown there is. This one isn't measured by clocks or calendars. It's measured by pure raw instinct. A countdown that's literally written into the fabric of nature.
Just try to imagine being one of these birds for a second. For them, winter ending isn't just, a change in the weather. This countdown is an urgent, deeply ingrained race for survival. It is truly the difference between life and death.
So what we're really seeing here is that in the natural world, a countdown is fundamentally tied to survival, to rebirth. It's a physical, tangible hope for warmth, for food, for the simple, beautiful act of continuing to live.
All right, so let's build on that. We've seen it in the physical world of survival. So what happens when we shift our gaze to the spiritual world of faith? How does this very same idea of a countdown pop up there?
And here, we find this absolutely fascinating spiritual parallel to spring's arrival. The countdown to Easter, it becomes this incredible journey from darkness into light. It's a core expression of belief in the power of renewal. This is so much more than just ticking days off a calendar. It's about reinforcing a fundamental belief that even after the absolute deepest hardship, a profound, glorious rebirth isn't just possible, it's a promise. Now hold that thought. The pattern seems pretty clear, right? But what happens to this whole idea of a countdown, this hope for spring, in a place where spring as we know it, well, it just doesn't exist?
To answer that, let's take a trip together. We're heading to the Mekong Delta. We're stepping into a world that moves to a completely different beat, a place that's animated by a very different kind of hope.
See, over here, the whole idea of 4 European seasons is totally irrelevant. Life is shaped by this powerful 3-part cycle of sun, rain, and the all-important flood. And this just brilliantly shows a perspective that might seem completely upside down to some of us. For the farmer here, the most anticipated time of year isn't some gentle spring. No, it's the powerful, roaring arrival of the floodwaters. So for this farmer, the countdown is for a season of pure prosperity. The flood isn't a disaster, it's a blessing. It's what replenishes the land and fills the nets. It is the absolute foundation of their livelihood.
And this is where it all connects in the most incredible way. The farmer might not celebrate Easter, but they witness a resurrection in every single planting season. They see life burst forth from what looks like an ending, a tiny seed, buried in mud, just pushing its way toward the sun.
Okay, so let's just zoom out for a second. We've got 3 totally different countdowns, for a bird, for a believer, and for a farmer. Now it's time to pull all these threads together and see the single, powerful idea they all share. So on one hand, you have the bird's primal need for warmth just to survive, and on the other, the farmer's practical need for a harvest to secure a livelihood. It's fascinating, right? When you get down to it, they're both counting down to the exact conditions that let them survive and thrive. And then when you put these 2 worlds side by side, you see this unbelievable parallel. You have the believer's faith in a spiritual rebirth, and then you have the farmer's direct first-hand experience with the physical rebirth of a seed. They are 2 different languages describing the exact same powerful concept, life renewed. And when you lay it all out so clearly like this, it just clicks, doesn't it? We see 3 different countdowns, 3 different dreams, but it becomes so obvious they are all driven by one shared fundamental force, hope. Hope for survival, hope for salvation, hope for sustenance. And all of this, it brings us to a final, much more personal question. If a countdown is basically how we measure hope, what does that mean for each of us in our own lives? I think what this is really getting at is that our own personal spring isn't defined by a season on a calendar. Not at all. It's defined by what we are personally, deeply waiting and hoping for. And that just perfectly captures the heart of it all. It doesn't matter if we're watching the snow melt, lighting a candle in a church, or scanning the horizon for rain clouds. That act of counting down is a universal human ritual. It is how we give measure to our hope. So as we wrap this up, I'll just leave you with this one thing to think about. What is your spring? What is that hope on your horizon that you're counting down to?